Marcel, where are you going with that disc? You are not putting that on again. Marcel, okay, if you press that button, you are in very, very big trouble.
Attention. Everybody stop what you're doing. It's time for The Unwritten Rule, a Mizzou sports podcast brought to you by the Believe Network, alongside Payton Haverman and Kenny Van Doren. Here is your host, Jack Knowlton.
Welcome back to The Unwritten Rule, presented by FanDuel. Today is Friday, June 12th. Jack Knowlton is here. Payton Haverman is here. Kenny Van Doren will be here with Payton, and that is where we'll talk about some football commit stuff. We, of course, wanted to wait to do that. We'll do it mostly during quick hits with Kenny and Payton, because, of course, Kenny is locked in, Payton, to all that stuff, and we'll have the best ear to the ground, or is it nose to the ground or ear to, no? What's the term? What's the expression? Is it nose to the ground? I know it's nose to the grindstone.
I think it is ear to the ground.
Ear to the ground. Okay, that would make more sense. He has the ear to the ground on the recruiting. So we will talk about that. But Payton and I are going to talk about what we like to talk about best, which is Mizzou men's basketball, specifically Dennis Gates, who was in St. Louis for an event. He was at the Big Brothers Big Sisters event with the entire team, minus Anwar Boateng for some reason, which I guess there's no reason. He's probably injured and can't travel. I don't know. I was going to do a thing of like, should we over speculate into that? But he was not there. They took a team picture and he wasn't in the picture. Don't think that's an issue. But Dennis and the rest of the team was there. Dennis talked specifically a little bit about the SLU game, and we're kind of using that as a launch pad to just talk about what's a very exciting non-con schedule being put together for Mizzou, and just focus in on that a little bit. But we'll go through Dennis's talking points at first on the SLU game, specifically Payton. He did mention, I believe this is only the third time that this game has happened in the last 50 years. Also said, and I quote, "This is a game that should always be on our schedule. There should never be a year without this game. I've always felt that way." Something tells me that will not jive with you.
Yeah, I don't know about every year. I don't know. That's like putting it in the same echelon as Kansas and Illinois, which those are the only two games I really feel like should absolutely non-negotiably be on Missouri's schedule every year. Besides the conference games, obviously. Look, this is not a slight to SLU. I promise it's not. I know how good they are. They're going to reload too. I mean, they got a great portal haul even. And Schertz has shown he can coach his ass off. They are totally capable of beating Missouri. My beef is just more that Missouri is scheduling a straight neutral site series. I would have liked to have seen this series be at least home and homes. If you have to go to Chaffetz, so be it. I've never been in Chaffetz, I won't lie. It looks pretty solid from the outside looking in. I have no qualms with Missouri having to play one game there. I don't love that Missouri has to play 3 neutral site games in SLU's backyard, essentially. I have no idea what the crowd will look like at the Enterprise. I'm not going to say that I'm privy to what the ratio of support will be between those two. I definitely feel like SLU fans are by and large going to be more jacked up for this game than Missouri fans. I'm not saying Missouri fans are not. There's not a segment of Missouri fans that aren't excited for it. And it's pretty cool for the St. Louis contingent of Missouri fans in general. I mean, you get another game out there. You get to see them play if you're from St. Louis, you probably have grown up around St. Louis basketball quite a bit. So I am happy for the communities that are kind of involved with this. It's cool for St. Louis to have this game happen. But I am a little annoyed that it's all neutral site games. I feel like this was a perfect home and home, and I get it. The net and all that is going to make it so that scheduling straight home and homes is almost impossible. Someone at Rockham Nation put out a pretty good tweet about it. I'd have to go and find it again. I don't even remember who tweeted it, but they had a very good point illustrating just how prevalent neutral site games are between high major and high majors. But I don't know. I'm not trying to talk down St. Louis, but they are an A10 school. Okay, that's not exactly the power conference teams. So I thought this was an opportunity to maybe have a 2-for-1, 2 at home, 1 on the road. And if it really was that successful, turned into something, then you go from there. But at the end of the day, all we wanted from Dennis was for him to schedule like a much more competitive non-con. It's clear he feels more comfortable doing so now, maybe because the tournament has expanded. I think that's kind of weak, but he's doing it now. And I'm not going to be someone that I've seen a lot of angry people that they're scheduling all these games at neutral sites. That's just how it works now. For the most part, go ahead.
If I can chime in, he had a quote kind of on that. I don't really know how much it actually says, but he said scheduling in basketball has transitioned. This was at the event, by the way. It has gone from the 80s and 90s where you would see home and home rivalries take place. A Mizzou would go to a St. Louis, or a St. Louis would go to a Mizzou, vice versa. But also you'd have teams go to neutral site games when you move into the 80s. I think the scheduling index and implications of Selection Sunday, some have done it just beefing up their schedule, but some have done neutral site games. And I think ultimately this is where we are. So it seems like he's in the same boat. It's just better for your optics to play a neutral site game because there is a lot more to gain and a lot less to lose. Because of course, losing at home is, winning a true road game is the best in terms of a tournament resume, but losing at home is by far the worst thing you can do. Yeah. It hurts. And so you talk about an A10 school with where Louis, and I completely agree with you. I think this is a much different feeling if St. Louis is just Butler and joins the Big East and is in a Power 5 conference. But, they are in the A10 and they are a good A10 team. I think what you're saying is because they're good, that's kind of why maybe people have some apprehension because you don't want to have Mizzou or to have St. Louis come into your building and knock you off because that will hurt you come Selection Sunday.
Yeah. Look, it's just, again, like I said, SLU is more than capable of winning the game this year, and they're more than capable of, assuming Schertz doesn't totally fall off a cliff, which I don't see. He clearly knows what he's doing. If the last few years are any indication at Indiana State and SLU, they're more than capable of beating Missouri. I just think Missouri has so much more to lose in this instance, and maybe it gets mitigated by a neutral site and or maybe not. I don't know. I find it. I'm more annoyed. I don't want to play SLU in general for the reason of Missouri. I think has a pretty good non-con even without SLU. I personally didn't grow up in St. Louis, so maybe it is taken a bit more seriously than I know. But it certainly is not a thing I've ever thought of as a rivalry. It's always felt kind of one-sided, with a lot of St. Louis people being annoyed that SLU and Missouri don't play. I've never thought of this game as needing to desperately happen. I don't love that it's not home and home, but I'll excuse that and maybe say that is just a byproduct of where we're at today with the net and college basketball and everything, because I think Hoiberg had a pretty similar quote about Nebraska Mizzou, saying in an ideal world it would have been a home and home, but it's just not really how it works anymore. But I don't know. I'm not going to rain all over the parade that some people are, because there is excitement around this game. And ultimately, we've been saying for years, we really want to see the non-con beefed up. Who am I to complain about it being done in a certain way at the end of the day? There's a lot of fun games on the schedule. Marquette in Chicago, that's a game I've just wanted to see for ages, because we've heard about the secret scrimmages all this time, and that's finally happening. We'll get into it a little more with like Nebraska, but it's a fun non-con slate. And ultimately, I don't have to be happy with every single one of them, but I'll accept it. Just go out and win ball games at a certain point, man. That's all you got to do.
Yeah, I don't think people can have their cake and eat it too. Like, you can't be clamoring for this and then be mad when it doesn't happen exactly to the optics of how you want. Like, you wanted to see Mizzou play some real teams. Here you go, and let's see how they do. So yeah, that was one thing he mentioned that was interesting with how he's looking at these neutral site games, is like going into markets, that Mizzou fans and Mizzou alumni specifically are. Of course, he's mentioned St. Louis and Kansas City, where Mizzou is playing a total of 4 games, right? Illinois and St. Louis in St. Louis, and Kansas and Nebraska in Kansas City. Those are of course big hubs, but he mentioned Chicago as another one. A lot of Mizzou alumni are up there. With that game against Marquette. He mentioned by name Dallas is another one he said he wants to explore, which would be interesting. You and I were talking about off air what teams that could be involved there. He talked with Nebraska about reigniting those old Big 12 rivals. You've got Baylor, TCU, that other Big 12 school in Texas that I'll remain nameless for now. Although maybe I should say them, maybe it would help our SEO.
Texas Tech.
It is Texas Tech. They're all, of course, down and around there. You can't play Texas or Oklahoma with them being conference opponents, but that opens up some doors. But it's an interesting approach. I think he gave a little bit of insight as to how we might see Mizzou schedule out, especially some of these neutral site games. But yeah, overall, it's exciting. We'll get into a couple more of the teams. Couple other quick hitters on things he said. I watched the 12-minute video. Shout out to Kyle from Mizzou Today for posting that. You mentioned the SLU game, bring back old rivalries. He was asked about Crow and the freshmen in typical Dennis fashion. Didn't really say anything. Kind of said the freshmen are getting along well. They're playing their part in contributing to this team in the early stages of it. There was a couple ask me again in the summer answers when we really get going. People trying to get their feet under them. He was asked about the assistants too. He said, everyone has unbelievable basketball IQs, pedigree, master player development, program development. Again, nothing too super insightful there. And I think that is partially somewhat Robo Dennis being Robo Dennis, and part it is June 9th when they were doing this, 10th when they were doing this. And, we are several months away from the season starting still. So there's definitely some things he doesn't know. I think he's being very careful too, to say, on paper, I love our team, and we'll see how they go get after it in the offseason.
He's doing neutral sites against St. Louis, coming off of one of St. Louis's best seasons ever. Nebraska, their first tournament game, their first 2, right? Yeah, their first 2.
Yep, first 2 ever.
Got Kansas and Illinois in the fold still. He clearly has a lot of faith in this year's team, and he probably should, because if it doesn't work out, it's probably over. He may not even get fired after this season, but if it doesn't work out with this team, there's going to be no faith going forward as long as Dennis is in charge.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of those teams before we go to quick hits, and a lot of this to me is going to just be kind of name mentioning and looking back at 2026, because we're so far away from the season. But we do for the most part know pretty much all of what these rosters are going to look like. Now we are into June. You pretty much have to have your teams built. But in terms of going in schedule order as we know them to be right now, St. Louis will be the first game of the season, November 6th at the Enterprise Center. As of now. Well, the season starts November 4th?
I think it's normally like November 1st or so. I think it's that Monday.
I'm going to say they don't schedule another one. I think they start with St. Louis.
I think they'll get a blood donor before St. Louis.
Think so? All right.
I think we will see like a Florida A&M. Oh, goodbye, Knowlton. He's gone. I guess he was that offended by me saying that. LOL.
I'm back.
Welcome back. I stalled for time while you were gone.
Back. I was moving, I fidget, and I was moving around my trackpad, and I did the thing on Apple when you slide too far back and it just backspaces out of it.
Mm-hmm. I just said that you were really offended by my take that Mizzou was going to have a blood donor on there.
I'm not. It could happen. That's probably the smart thing to do. So that is first. This St. Louis team, you mentioned a decent portal haul. There are a couple of good players in. They also have 9 guys back from their team last year, which I think is saying something about Schertz and the program he's building there. That is not an easy thing to do, no matter where you are anymore. They did lose, of course, Robbie Avila, who's the name everyone will know. Deion Brown was their second leading scorer last year. Those two are both gone. They were out of eligibility. But Amari McCourty, Trey Green, who I think was third on the team in scoring, Kellen Thomas, Ishan Sharma, Quentin Jones, Cam Hudson, Jax Kerr, Badara Diakite, Luke Laskowski are all back. They brought in Sheik Pearson, who I believe Payton was Mizzou linked with him. He was a John Burroughs guy I know out of high school.
Yeah, he was definitely, I don't know how hard they pushed after him. I definitely remember the name. So enough for me to like register who he was when he committed to SLU.
Yeah, he was actually at Marquette, ironically enough.
Yep.
They got Elijah Strong, who averaged about 10 points a game from at South Carolina last year. And then a guy, Elon Mikolai from Colorado. He was like 7 point per game scorer. So those were really only their transfers in. And again, didn't have a ton out. One of their guys who left was hurt last year. They had another guy who I think was in the low, like just under 10 points a game range. So they have a bunch coming back. They're gonna have continuity. They're gonna be a good team again. Of course, they're gonna have to fill the Avila-sized void in that. But you know, I'm gonna bet big. I think on teams that bring that much talent back. I know you even look at Mizzou. Like sometimes it doesn't always necessarily work with who you bring in with that in the portal, but I think for the most part, it's a good way to go to have success in this day and age to bring that many guys back. That means they want to keep playing for you. They like their roles, or they're going to have higher or even increased roles. So it'll be a good team, Payton. It'll be a good team.
Definitely. I mean,
yeah.
Jones and I think Thames in particular, I could be totally wrong. Again, I'm not a SLU fan, so I'm not reading up on this, but I believe Jones and Thames in particular are like kind of going to be the guys that they expect to step up, kind of be really big contributors for them. Impressive. I mean, you don't see A-10 schools pulling in that caliber of transfer class other than really SLU, maybe VCU, and I don't know. I would say that's probably the list for the most part in the A-10. 100% a team that can catch Mizzou and beat them. Especially early in the season, when you have 9 guys back, it can be really, really helpful to have that kind of familiarity already kind of built into your team. Again, I think Missouri should win this game. I do think that this being Dennis, I think this is Dennis's most talented team by a landslide at Missouri. I think Missouri does have the talent to be a great team, but early season, from what we've heard, not a whole ton of like you're breaking in a freshman as being the man most likely if you're Missouri. So there could definitely be hiccups. It could be an interesting environment. There's a lot that could work in SLU's favor. It's a very, very early test.
It feels like a weird game. It feels it's a very weird game to kind of start your season with just. Yeah, with all the dynamics and optics going into it, on top of the fact that SLU is just a good team.
Thames is a good-looking player, I gotta say.
Yeah, I was gonna say Thames last year was around 9.7. Jones around 9.1 points per game. Ishan Sharma was also 9.1 points. So, it's kind of crazy. They had Avila they were so balanced. I mean, they've got. This is their points per game last year: 12.8, 11.3, 10.7, 10.5. 9.7, 9.1, 9.1. That's 7 guys that,
not a team to sneeze at. Again, if Missouri loses, I think that's a huge, I don't know if you can even recover that from that morale-wise if your first test of the season against easily the most expensive and most talented roster you've had under Dennis in what feels like an all-in year, you lose that game early in the year, that's going to be hard to come back from, not going to lie.
Well, regardless of if they win or lose, they will then play Pitt That's their first of this December. That's in the ACC SEC Challenge, the Gauntlet December for Mizzou. December 1st, Pitt. They are very different. They went 13-20 last year, finished 5-13 in the ACC. They did not have a good season. They brought 11 guys in. They've got 14 guys on the way out. That's just in the transfers. Their top 2 scorers were also seniors as well, so they will look completely different. If you want some people to know, that there are some enticing names coming in. Jaleel Bethea, who was he was a really high ranked recruit at Miami, went to Alabama, got hurt. Didn't really play all that much, so he's kind of trying to revive at Pitt a little bit. They brought in Jonathan Powell, who was a role player at North Carolina last year. Dominique Diomond, who I mentioned only for the fact he was a high-ranking recruit. I believe he's from France. He went to BYU, hardly played. They got a guy, Nate George, who was around 10 points per game at Syracuse. Bay Ndongo, around 12 points a game at Georgia Tech. And then they got a couple of high scores from the mid-majors. They got a guy who was 13-10 at Mercer, a guy who was 19 points a game at Charleston Southern, and then a freshman from Russia who was at Bryant for his first year and averaged 13 points per game. So there's some enticing mid-major guys in there as well. They had a guy go to Ole Miss from last year. He was, I think, their 4th leading scorer. So they're going to be completely new, Payton.
Definitely a quantity over quality approach. Goodness, I am not impressed by most of these players. I can't even lie. You'll remember, a few years ago, the first year of the SEC ACC Challenge, Mizzou played Pitt. I was actually kind of jazzed up for that matchup. There were 2 teams coming off pretty solid years. It was Dennis's first year. Pitt had won a tournament game, I believe. And Missouri went 0-19 in conference play, but they went on the road and beat that Pitt team.
With Bub Carrington, right?
Interesting we're getting that matchup again. Kind of just looking through the ACC, there are not a lot of fun teams anymore. It's kind of a bummer because that conference used to be the gold standard. But now it's kind of fallen by the wayside. I don't know. I'm not super excited about this one just because they've played Pitt before. Would have loved to have seen them somehow grab like NC State or something. They didn't even put NC State against LSU. That's so lame.
Yeah, it's probably a hot seat year for Capel, their coach, too. So 2023 they went to the round of 32. Then 2024 they went 22-11 and missed the tournament.
Because I remember they skipped the NIT, and like the big thing that really sank them was their loss to Mizzou at home.
Yeah, 22-11, finished 4th in the ACC and missed the tournament. Then they were 17-15 and 13-20 the last 2 years. So they definitely need to turn it around. December 6th is the Kansas game. Talk about another team that it will look very, very different from a season ago. Some notable names who are gone: Melvin Council, who I think needs to get a waiver, so he's at least eligibility, but I think he is in the portal.
I think that ship has probably sailed by now.
El Marco Jackson is at Georgetown now. Flory Badunga went.
El Marco Jackson, man.
What?
I was tired of El Marco Jackson.
Flory Badunga went to Louisville, and then of course Bryson Tiller is at Mizzou after switching allegiances. In terms of for the portal for them, they brought in Dennis Parker from Radford, Leroy Blyden Jr., who I believe a lot of people like, from Toledo, Keanu Dawes from Utah, and Christian Reeves, who was at Charleston last year. Only 4 transfers in. They did of course have the big win in the recruiting space with Tyron Stokes and getting him. So that will be interesting to watch, the Stokes versus Crow matchup, Payton.
Well, I doubt they'll be matched up on each other much, but
the battle then.
I think Missouri should win this game. Do you look at this Kansas roster and think it looks like a Kansas roster? They got all CAA like second teamers as their big men. They got Utah's 3rd best player, and I'm supposed to be like enamored with this guy. Like Kansas fans have understandably been talking a lot of shit towards Bryson Tiller. I know a lot of them are like really hyped up around Keanu Dawes in particular because he had a dunk on Tiller. Keanu Dawes played bad basketball on a bad basketball team, man. I'm not buying what Kansas is selling this year. Stokes absolutely could be the truth, and it could all not matter at all, but I don't know. I look at this game and I think Missouri should win it, to be honest with you.
Along with Stokes, just for mentioning names, they also got Trey Kinney. He's number 22 in the country on the prospects. Davion Adkins is 61st. Trent Perry, 104th. Luke Barnett, 121st. Those are all their 4-star additions. So, yeah, they will be relying on a lot of those guys, it seems like, along with Stokes. So, yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. I mean, there's some off the court stuff with him already, kind of following him to Kansas, which I know people have picked apart. Fair or not, it's happened. So yeah, they will be interesting. December 12th is the Nebraska game. That is also in the T-Mobile Center in Kansas City. So they'll be right back there 6 days after playing Kansas. Nebraska also doesn't have too many notable guys leaving. They do have a couple on eligibility. Sam Hoiberg, Jamarcus Lawrence, and Rink Mast. All three of those guys were pretty massive to what they did last year. Sam Hoiberg, of course, one of the better stories in college basketball with his kind of rise from walk-on coach's son to like a real part of a team that won its first 2 tournament games. Rink Mast was their starting center. Jamarcus Lawrence played a lot.
Price Sanford still has eligibility.
I think so.
Oh my gosh. I thought he was out. Oh no, he definitely does. Wow. I totally thought he was gone.
Shout out Waukee. Their probably biggest departures in terms of out. They had a young guy. I'm gonna butcher his name. Ugunius. Jarasivicius. I don't even know. I don't remember where he's from originally. He went to Arizona. I had no idea actually who this guy even was, and then I saw he was at Arizona now. I think he averaged like 7 points a game last year at Nebraska, so he's gone. Probably would have been the Rink Mast replacement. And then Bern Schreikel is the other one who's at Vanderbilt now, so Mizzou will see him in conference play. He played quite a bit last year, was at UCLA, Nebraska, now Vanderbilt. In terms of guys in, they brought in a couple mid-majors. Sam Orm from Belmont averaged 12 points a game. Traven Lionheart from Utah Valley was also 12 points a game. And then their only high major guy of note, Bowden Kapke, was around 10 points a game at Boston College last year. So it doesn't seem scary on paper, but with what Fred Hoiberg did with that group last year, he does feel like a guy who can take sort of a band of misfits and really do some damage with the right buy-in, but that's their team.
I think this is another benchmark game to kind of see where Nebraska, to see where Missouri is at. Look, there is no way Missouri is going to win every single one of these big non-cons, especially considering the team we'll talk about next. But just how many of the 3 big ones are probably Marquette, Nebraska, and SLU. I think if you can go 3-0 or 2-1 at least in those, I think you're probably in a pretty good spot. 1-2 or 0-3, 0-3 in particular, that's like the ship is on fire bad. But I certainly would group Nebraska kind of in like the SLU and Marquette games. I think they're better probably than both those teams, if I had to guess. But just in terms of like being a step below Kansas and Illinois, but like obviously not a blood donor and not Pitt, I would say those are the 3 kind of big like test ones for Missouri.
We'll knock this one out real fast. I don't expect Mizzou to win this one. Hopefully they don't lose by 40 again, but they will have to play Illinois. Do we have? I forgot to write it down. Is there a date for that yet?
I haven't seen a date.
It's usually always that December,
right around December, Christmas time.
Yeah. Yeah, Illinois, I mean, they do have one in particular notable loss. Their leading scorer, Keaton Wagler, is going to be a very high draft pick, potentially to the Chicago Bulls, if you believe some trade rumors. They'll lose Kylan Boswell from last year as well to eligibility, but Andrei Stojakovic, David Mirkovic, I believe both of the Aviciches, and I think Hummerkaus, and I think Jake Davis are all back.
I don't see Hummerkaus on here, but the Aviciches are back.
Their only transfer as well was one of the better ones in the country. They got Stephen Vox from Providence, who a lot of people really loved when he entered the portal. Some people are arguing this team could be up there, maybe the best in the country. Probably doesn't surpass Michigan or Florida for me, or even UConn. But yeah, they're going to be maybe a top 5 team when Mizzou plays them. They are very scary. And of course, a bunch of good recruits whose names I'm forgetting other than Quentin Coleman.
Yeah. Quentin Coleman, I think, is obviously the one most Missouri fans are going to know, just because Missouri and them kind of tangled for him late. He ultimately, seeing what Wagler did this past year, that's kind of a hard pitch to match, I'd have to say.
Yeah, they have one other forced. Oh, Xavier Zenz. Some people will know he played for Conca-Nipples High School in Wisconsin, and their other 4 stars, Lucas Murillo. But again, Keaton Wagler was like a low-end 3-star guy, and look what he turned into. So any of these guys could potentially pop, if they figure out the right role. They have, a total.
I wouldn't necessarily bank on it.
Sure, but Illinois doesn't.
Few and far between.
But Illinois doesn't need to bank on it, is my point. Like they are in a position where those guys can take some time to develop, or if one of them is Wagler, I say that more, if one of them just is Wagler on top of what they have, they're going to be incredible once again. So
yeah, we're a long way away from when Missouri and them were pretty even while we were in college.
Yes.
Illinois has certainly taken the lead in that regard. Hopefully, hey, anything can happen. But after last year especially, it'd be nice to see Missouri somehow pick this one off, but not banking on it.
Very scary team. And then the last one's Marquette. We do not have a date for that one. That is in Chicago. Another team definitely going to look very different. They went 12-20 last year, 7-13, finished 7th in the Big East. In terms of portal in, only 2. I do know they're both pretty high rated though. They got Sananda Frew from Louisville, who a lot of people might know if you watched a lot of national college basketball. He's a good player there for them. And then a pretty high rated mid-major, Nolan, I assume it's Nolan Minisale from St. Thomas, which has been a very successful mid-major program from over the past few years, pretty much since they've become eligible and moved their way up into the Summit League there. So, Nolan Minisale, fun fact, actually moving from Marquette back to Marquette. He went to Marquette University High School in Milwaukee. So it's going from the high school. He made it to the college, took a little stop in St. Thomas, and now he's back. Transfers out. There were 7 of them. Of course, Sheik Pearson, who we mentioned. Zayd Lowry went to Dayton. Sean Jones went to Toledo. So sorry, only 3. I get confused because it puts the 7, but then it's like when they entered the portal and when they went to the new team, it's the same guy. So, an interesting team. This is one I feel like we're just going to have to kind of watch how their early part of the season goes, because I think they're just going to be completely different. I don't know how much from last year you can really kind of glean from them. And in terms of high school commitments, they do have 4. Alex Igbonu is the best one, 90 overall prospect. He's a 4-star, and Ethan Johnson is 173rd. They also have a guy, Payton, named Nash Walker. Shout out Nash Walker of KCOU fame.
Old, what do you call it? Old guest.
Yes, former guest. So,
yeah, I got no idea what this team is going to look like. I know Nigel James Jr. was really good. That's about all I know.
Yep, and he appears to be back. He did not enter the transfer portal. He was just a freshman last year. 16 points a game. Chase Ross, good player too. Was he a senior? I think he was. He was. So never mind, he's gone. Yeah, it'll probably be Nigel James's team. So there you go. There's a little way too early preview. Just figured we could use what Dennis said about SLU to kind of launch into some riff about the non-con teams that Mizzou's going to play. I'm excited. I'm excited to watch this team stack up. If it is anything that it appears to be making out to be, there should be a lot of good games in here, and we should be thoroughly entertained. And I agree with you. Don't expect Mizzou to win all of them. If they do win all of them, we'll be having some vastly different conversations.
If Mizzou is undefeated, we're going to have conversations that we'll never have again.
And that we had potentially during
not even
during the 2024
Alabama
season.
It would be way different than that. If they beat Kansas and Illinois and make it to conference play undefeated, I would be furious at that point if they don't win the SEC outright.
All right. So I'm gonna stop you before we say any more dangerous things. We'll go to quick hits. Payton will be with Kenny, and they will finish up the show, talk some football, recruiting, etc.
All right, quick hits time. Jack Knowlton possibly still on the road for this, and I think it's a good one to note because it goes into my jersey of the week, Payton. He is on his way to Tennessee right now. So is Blaze Ward, if he's not there already. Freshman breakout for the Tigers this past year on the Diamond, announced his transfer to Vanderbilt. And I think one of the best comments on here is, there's not going to be Mizzou fans that are very happy, especially with the freshman who got, freshman player of the week twice in the SEC this past season. It comes from Elijah Gates. Yes, go to one of the few teams in the country. Mizzou is better than. Fantastic decision. It's a little tongue-in-cheek, but also that, Mizzou won a series against Vanderbilt. It's not the same Vandy boys of years past. It was not the best season for Vanderbilt this past year. Still carries
First time they missed the postseason in 20-plus years, I believe. Long time.
Yeah, and the program still carries weight, as we know. Probably going to have more opportunities at Vandy in the sense of, what kind of comes out of that program than maybe Mizzou. And, I think there's still going to be some people they'll hold that against Blaze Ward next time he comes back to Columbia in the black and white.
Yeah, it's a bummer for Mizzou. This was clearly one of the more, it looked like, talented players Mizzou had. Him and Caden Pierre leaving was rough. Certainly not shocked he's sticking within the SEC. I totally get why Mizzou fans are really. I'm still kind of jaded towards Vandy just because of the way last year's football game turned out. But yeah, I can't really fault Blaze Ward. Certainly think that it was not a shock to see him land on his feet.
Payton, your jersey of the week.
My jersey of the week is going to be certainly one of the most used Tigers, former Tigers on this show. Going to go with Cameron Meisner. He is back in the majors with the Royals, with a team close to Como. Cameron Meisner back up from Omaha. Kyle Isbell went on the IL. Have not seen if Meisner has played at the time of recording, but he is back in the majors. Certainly a defensive guru. I think the question's always really been with the bat.
Kyle Isbell's going to be out a pretty extended period of time. He had a tear in his foot or lower
left
leg.
Plantar fasciitis.
There you go. He's played in 2 games this year. Pulling up the game log. Yeah, he's played today when we're recording this on Thursday. He has 2 at-bats so far and an RBI single to his
Boom. He's going to get some run.
Do you want to play a game?
I'd love to play a game.
Do you remember what team Cameron Meisner was drafted by?
I do. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Marlins.
Yes. How did he get?
I believe he was traded for Pete Fairbanks. No. Ryan Stanek was in the deal.
No.
There's a Ryan Stanek deal between those teams. What deal was he in?
Joey Wendell, 1 for 1.
Joey Wendell. Wow. Yeah.
And then this past offseason, the Rays DFA'd him and traded him for a player to be named later. That's the one thing it doesn't it's not the best on the transactions page for MLB is that they don't replace the player to be named later. Like that trade could be completed, and I just don't know. I just not something I follow closely. All right.
Typically, MLB trade rumors is the one I always go to find that out. But
yeah, we'll have the full ones. All right. Jack's jerseys of the week, not just jersey. The Mizzou basketball team. I thought this was a little bit quicker than I expected, Payton. But
yeah,
Mizzou men's basketball team announced the jersey numbers for this next season. I'll just go quickly through them. There's only one change from last year. I'll mention it at the top is that Aaron Rowe is no longer number 1. He is now number 2. Cord Stansberry is number 0. Jameer Jones is number 1. Kennard Davis Jr. is number 4. Jason Crow Jr. is number 5. Anar Boateng still number 6. Trent Burns still number 7. Jordan Crawford will wear number 8. Aiden Chronister, the freshman, will wear number 10. Trent Pierce will still wear number 11. Tony Bryant will rock 14. Bryson Tiller will wear 15. Jalen Carey will wear 23. Nick Randall will stick with 24. And Luke Northweather will stick with 45.
Have you ever seen that? I think it was Vernon Davis on the NFL Top 100 going like, how do you say that name? Ezekiel Elliott. That's how I feel about Jason Crow in number 5. It's just, it's perfect to me. How do you say that? Jason Crow Jr. number 5. Love it. None of these are really bad per se. Carey in 23, I think is, I know it sounds weird because when you see 23, you think of like Michael Jordan and like a super guard. I actually like 23 on just a bruising forward like that. Tiller in 15, I like that too. I'm a fan of most of these number selections, I think. I don't love Cord Stansberry getting 0. That's probably the only one I'd say I don't agree with per se.
Carey wore 23 at Tennessee as well. I was trying to see if he wore it at James Madison. He wore 22 at Vanderbilt. He was 15 at James Madison.
Interesting. I don't think I'd love as much in 15.
All right. This is the one bad thing about not having Jack around. I'm going to find that audio.
I could have had it queued up as well. I like
No Cap, and he's the main bird.
There you go.
East main bird of the week. My main bird, Zion Young. He's a Baltimore Raven now. It's always fun when Drinkwitz goes out and takes photos with these guys. You've seen it more in recent years, too, where guys come back after the first stints in the NFL, have signed jerseys for their position coaches. We saw that a couple of times with Al Pogue. I remember Cad came back to see him. Ennis Rakestraw's been back to see him. But Drinkwitz getting a photo with Zion Young was his best transfer additions. And I think Zion, bested a lot of our expectations last year, too. Ended up being a second rounder and still had first round buzz at times as well. And you've seen it too with some of the reporters that are covering a lot of these OTAs and mini camps for the rookies, is that there's a lot of positives of, he's been as advertised with, the aggressiveness that he plays with, that elite edge that Mizzou always talks about. So it seems like, Zion Young is making a good first impression in his time in the NFL.
Zion always struck me as someone that the coaches probably just absolutely adored. I mean, that dude was fired up to play every time he was out there. You could just tell. I mean, the Auburn overtime is obviously the most notable example, but he was a dude that always played with his hair on fire. Certainly got better between his 2 years at Mizzou as well. I mean, he stepped up and filled the Johnny Walker void. It was seamless between him and Damon Wilson. Certainly him and Wilson will be missed this year. We'll see if Missouri can even sort of replicate it. Young was a hell of a player as it turned out for Mizzou.
My last thing on this is that, do you think Drinkwitz has any other clothes that aren't Masters apparel or Mizzou?
I don't. He's a big golf guy. I think we're finding out. I will say this: I appreciate that it is the Masters hat, the actual Masters hat, and not a certain other Masters thing. But that's all I'll say on that.
Should we grok it? Should we put the Mizzou Masters?
No,
hat?
We should not grok the Mizzou Masters hat onto that. And that is all I'll say on the matter.
Payton, your Sean East main bird of the week.
Sean East main bird of the week. I've got a very baseball-themed set of quick hits here because we're going to Max Scherzer, of course, the Toronto Blue Jay, if you really needed me to spell that out for you. He is the 11th pitcher ever to reach 3,500 career strikeouts. Certainly one of the best pitchers of all time, arguably the best of Kenny and I's generation. I mean, I don't even know who else you'd throw Scherzer, Kershaw, maybe DeGrom in there. Who?
Justin Verlander.
Verlander. Yeah, Verlander would be in there. That's kind of like an old guard that's still kicking for by and large. Scherzer just got activated off the IL, I believe. So Blue Jays have not been fantastic this year, but hopefully he can maybe help right the ship.
Pretty intriguing rotation with the sense of you had an old guy in Max Scherzer. Trey Savage also came back from an injury, spent a lot of money on some other arms. I know a lot of people aren't too happy with Ladito, and I think his OPS is like 740 right now. Last time I checked, he's hitting 284. He's just not doing anything in the power department.
Offense is kind of down across the board, it feels like.
Here's a fun fact for you, something you can carry in your back pocket, Payton. Who did Max Scherzer strike out?
I didn't see. I saw the video and didn't even. Who did they play?
It was the Phillies.
The Phillies?
Who always strikes out?
Schwarber. I was going to say Schwarber. Okay. Well, yeah, Schwarber makes up for it a bit. That's what you can say about him.
I don't know if it's in this video. Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah. He didn't even swing and miss. I mean, that was just a great pitch.
I think the broadcast goes Kyle Schwarber knew it. That's all. And
that's it was all like they didn't know it was 3,500.
I'll play the video too. I think Max knew it was a strike, but Max is just I think he gets like a small tip of the cap. Let's see. We'll wait.
Yeah. I mean, did you see? It looked like he was snarling walking around. He's intense. I've always loved watching Max Scherzer pitch, especially in 2019. Oh my God, what a year, right, Kenny?
We're gonna move on. My Sean East main bird of the week goes to Lawrence Britt. Right before we start recording right now around 6:30 Central Time on Thursday, and Lawrence Britt announced his verbal commitment to the University of Missouri. Bird connection, I'll throw it to Iowa. It was in his top group. He chose the Tigers over Arkansas, Florida, and Iowa. Iowa Hawkeyes were one of the three schools to also get official visits from Lawrence. He started off his schedule at Arkansas, then did a midweek at Iowa, finished things off at Missouri. Long time coming here for Lawrence. I have him down for 5 unofficial visits. He's been saying 8. So there's been 3 that I'm missing. He's good about posting, whenever he visits Mizzou. But he's been to a spring practice right after he was offered back in 2025. You go down into the season, and he went to 2 games. You don't see that very often for someone that's a little bit further away in Memphis. He went to the KU game. He went to the Texas A&M game because he really wanted – he was hoping that was going to be more of a night game. Just seeing an SEC atmosphere was something he was interested in. He's a Rivals industry 4-star wide receiver. Rivals does have him as an 88 3-star. He's 25th in the state of Tennessee by Rivals, but overall in his industry ranking, he is 12th, 41st among wide receivers and 279th nationally because that ESPN grade does carry a lot of weight at 136 in the ESPN 300. Second wide receiver for Jacob Peeler in the 2027 class. He joins Chris Harris Jr., committed on March 17th, the same day as tight end Jack Brown. These guys are close. They officially visited the same weekend. Same with Charles Britton III, Trey Britton, this past weekend, June 5th to the 7th. And Trey would be that last guy. We've seen Jacob Peeler consistently try to sign 3 wide receivers per class, and sometimes it doesn't go his way. You look at the last couple of years, Mason James was a big one they were interested in last cycle, tried to get him on for a visit even after his official visit in the summer. It didn't work out. He ended up signing with Washington. But the Tigers, already have 2 of their top choices. They can round things out with Trey Britton, in the next week or so, in the next couple days even, depending on when, he wants to make a decision by. I think Mizzou's in a good boat at wide receiver in the 2027 class.
Yeah, it's about time with Lawrence Britt. It feels like, I'm not trying to sound mean, but man, it feels like Missouri's been in the lead for like ages with him. But that's commit number 15.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy too? To
Yeah,
think.
15. I think one of them is a punter, right?
Oh, not just any punter. Dane Olmstead is ranked number 1 in the country by 247 Sports and Rivals.
Right. One of them is a punter, but I mean, 14 commits that matter. I mean, that's awesome. I'm just joking, Kenny. But yeah, I mean, Britt's feels like in the can for a while. Certainly got to be pretty happy with how they've missed maybe a couple bigger guys. And certainly hope they can flip a 4-star here or there, something like that. But can't really complain too much with where they're at right now.
It's something I keep pointing to when you look at the 2026 class last year, Payton, is that there were 2 commitments going into official visits for that class. Mizzou is already up to 10 this time around and has been consistently adding to that. There's going to be guys that decommit. I think it's safe to say that, there's going to be probably some movement, but Mizzou's been pretty safe on, trying to get guys that want to stick around, trying to get guys that want to keep recruiting, keep building on this class. There's Caleb Green, who's the younger brother of the Mizzou offensive tackle, Caden Green, and he's officially visiting Nebraska this weekend. He was going to visit Michigan State last weekend. We know that there's that connection to Lee Summit North and Jamar Mosey, who's on staff for Nebraska now. He's been there for the last couple of years. That's a big pull. We'll see if that actually, flips anything in his recruitment. But that is just the one name to circle right now if you are looking for anyone that maybe won't be committed for Missouri. The entire cycle. He was camping with Nebraska last weekend as well, and that's when he earned his offer. Looking down the pipe too, Payton, don't have many names for you coming up. Like I mentioned, Trey Britton would be the next one for Missouri fans. Raheem Floyd is someone that has a commitment date set for July 1st is what he's doing, and he's going to be at Florida this weekend, and he has Ole Miss playing for the following weekend. 4-star cornerback in the Rivals Industry rankings out of East St. Louis. Especially with Evan Villa going to Ladue, choosing Stanford, does put a lot more light on Raheem Floyd to fill that cornerback spot, that top one in the 2027 class. This weekend, not going to be a long list of official visitors. One source just put it's going to be a chill weekend. They got 3 guys slotted right now. One of them, the only one that's one that kept around his official visit. I guess another one did as well. But Antoine Jackson, edge rusher, he's also from Memphis, just like Lawrence. He plays at Colleyville now. Big high school football team in Tennessee. Jacob Peeler is very familiar with the school. Mizzou got a quarterback in the 2024 class. You're going to have to help me remember his name, Payton. He was only at
in
1 year.
2024 class?
Yeah. He was only at Mizzou for 1 year. 2025 class.
25.
No, 24. Yeah, 24. You know what I'm talking about. He's at
Gabari Johnson.
No, the year after Gabari. This guy is now at UT Martin.
Aiden Glover.
Aiden Glover, yeah. So he went to that same high school. Another one, defensive lineman MJ Woods. He is kind of an interesting case because you're starting to see this a little bit more where guys are able to take another semester of high school, depending on how old they are. He skipped a grade when he was younger. They offered him to reclassify from 2026 to 2027. He was at Whitney Young in Chicago. That's a name that probably Mizzou fans know from Maxwell Warner, running back last cycle. He's a freshman with the Tigers now. They're good friends, him and MJR. So he moved up his official visit from June 19th to the 21st to this weekend. And that's like the last official visit on his schedule too. So looking like Boston College and Mizzou are 2 teams at the top of his list. Last guy for you, Payton, Kingston Miles. I know you were a little bit excited to hear that one. He did commit to Auburn during his official visit in late May. But Mizzou remained optimistic, that they would be able to get him at least on a visit in the fall, especially an official visit. This was his scheduled weekend. I took it off his profile. Usually when you see guys commit, it's around 90% that they are done with official visits until maybe something changes in the fall. But with how close he is to Missouri, because he is at St. Mary's in the St. Louis area on the south side, it just, it would have been easy for Mizzou to try to pull him in. And so they're going to get him on for an official visit. And, there was a lot of people that kind of wrote off Auburn as a place for him. And I didn't really understand that. Yes, they got Myson Johnson Cook from East St. Louis. But when you have like a new staff, you are trying to hit home runs as much as you can. If you can hit home runs with 2 running backs from the Midwest, 2 4-stars that rank highly at their position, I think you're in good shape. And Auburn was a school that just kept recruiting him, even with Myson. But Mizzou is trying to stick around and trying to get its running back there. They did host Landon Williams-Callis this past weekend for an official visit. But it didn't sound like in one of the more recent updates that Mizzou's among those like top 4 schools right now for him. Even with the connection to Barry Sanders and getting him on the phone during the official visit. I just talked for 6 minutes on recruiting, but we have to keep talking about recruiting after.
It's kind of your whole deal,
Yeah, after Jack's main bird of the week, do you want to pick the bird out of this?
Jack's main bird of the week was Lawrence Britt, wasn't it?
No, it was mine.
This is the best thing.
No.
This is the best thing. I'm looking at it right now.
Oh, this is your best thing. Oh man,
my best thing. Yeah.
What's your best thing? What's the best thing you learned this week?
You're so recruiting pilled, man. You can't focus on anything else. No, but I mean that's if you're looking for recruiting info. I mean, Kenny just gave you the whole book of Missouri's recruiting right now. So, but yeah, we'll move on to best things. My best thing I learned is the TV windows got revealed for Mizzou football. Sorta like they're still not exact times. We already knew the first 3 more notable ones. Florida is a flex, so homecoming will either be in the afternoon or the evening. The 2 big bummers, Texas A&M and Texas will both be early window games. That sucks, especially Texas. I believe that St. Louis is the St. Louis basketball game is the night before. Then Texas is unfortunately the morning after that. So that could be a real rough commute and a real rough set of results if Missouri's not careful. Kentucky at home is a night game. That's kind of neat. Oklahoma ends the year in an afternoon slot. It's so weird not seeing Arkansas down there, man. It's over. I mean, that's just it. Like, there's no more Arkansas in that slot. Arkansas, by the way, is also a flex. Ole Miss will be an afternoon game. Georgia, a flex game. And Mississippi State is a night game. So there you go. Missouri's going to play football at some point.
There's been some conversations about the overlap with basketball, like you mentioned, with Texas and SLU. That Georgia game, the next day, is the Marquette game in Chicago. I know that you try to avoid as much as you can of getting those games on the same day, but that's back-to-back weekends of football and basketball being on back-to-back games and back-to-back days.
Yeah. So any of these stick out to you, Kenny? Like any that you're most excited about? I mean, you got to cover these. So
I probably won't be at Mizzou until homecoming. Really? I don't know if I'm going to go to the Troy game. I'm most likely
probably
not
fair.
going.
You don't need to go to the first 2.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go to UAPB. I'm going to lock it in. I'm not going to UAPB. I mean, there might be. I'm going to lock that in. Maybe there's a world I go to the Troy game, but I really doubt it.
What about Kansas? Are you going to make the trek out to Lawrence, maybe?
No, I don't think so. Kyle will have all those away games covered. But I think, homecoming, Florida. That'll be my first game of the year, most likely. One thing that always catches me off guard is seeing the Georgia logo not in its regular colors, because that's just the Packers
It's
logo.
weird, right?
Yeah, it's just like it makes more sense as the Packers logo than anything.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Best thing I learned this week, and mainly I'm just doing this not as like a rah choosing this guy or making it there. I also just needed a quick hit to fill up the spot. But Tristan Dare, this is a guy that I really liked in the recruiting process just as a person. When he committed to Michigan, Payton, he texted me like right after, and he said, I don't have the text anymore. I'm really upset about it, but lost all my texts with a new phone. But he thanked me, just for covering his recruitment. I thought that was it. I thought I'd never talk to Tristan Dare ever again. Went through this recruiting process. He committed to Michigan last August. Of course, we know that there was a full staff turnover at Michigan, and it wasn't anything within his control. He ended up visiting and just decided to go in a different direction. He decommitted from Michigan, and one of the first schools to call him was Missouri. And Mizzou stuck around, brought him back onto an unofficial visit, almost like a year to the day, as his unofficial visit in April of 2025 was his official or his unofficial in April 2026. One of the funny things that I always kind of remember about Tristan Dare in his first visit is like he's a South Lake Carroll guy, and a lot of people in Texas, you know what South Lake Carroll is. It is
Dragons.
the best. It's a premier program, not even just in Texas. It is one of the more premier programs in the entire country. I'm actually going to click on it, Peyton. I want to see what their rankings are right now. Yeah, it's number 8th nationally on the On3 Rivals website, number 3 in the state of Texas. Also just kind of shows you how much of a juggernaut Texas UIL football is. But he is he got his ratings updated recently. He is 783rd nationally. I know that, when you get down that far, it's, you're just kind of sliding them in by their overall grades, even by decimal points, and 61st among the interior linemen, projected to be a center at the next level, is what the Tigers are thinking. And he chose Mizzou over Stanford and Washington. I honestly thought he could probably be bound for one of those former Pac-12 schools, and coming out of his OV, he was just set on Mizzou. He was going to commit to the Tigers after this past weekend and did so on Tuesday. The one big thing for him is I think he accepts that, he's not going to be, an impact player. He really liked the development that he saw from seeing guys just get drafted from Brandon Jones's tree the last couple of years, and wants to be one of those guys that gets that opportunity in, 4 to 5 seasons.
Certainly. I made the joke last show about like him having the whole Michigan, Missouri, Stanford triangle. He's basically Andrew Babaloa.
He's a smart kid too. I talked to one of his high school coaches, and he says very cerebral. He's a 4.0 GPA. He plays the piano and the saxophone. So he does a lot in the classroom as well. And that was something that Andrew Babaloa had, was like he had very good, academics too. You
gotta, if you're gonna get into those two schools, I'd imagine. Correct me. I'm sorry if you said this and I missed it. I mean, he'll play. Is he expected to play center or guard?
So center's his position, and I think this also kind of factors into it, Peyton, where last cycle the Mizzou got 4 interior offensive linemen and 1 tackle. Right now, the Tigers have 3 interior offensive linemen. Still waiting on Kyler Kuhn, who's at St. Pius X in Kansas City. And he is certainly a center for the future. Very athletic, can move well at that center position. They like it. Evan Boehm is a guy recruiting him pretty hard. And we know about Evan Boehm's success on the interior too, even getting to the NFL. But Mizzou also, I don't think we talked about on the show, Brandon Anderson is no longer on the roster. We did not get a reason why from Mizzou, but he is no longer with the team. That is confirmed. So that's, an interior offensive lineman in that, 2026 to 2027 classes, where a spot opens up on the roster and on the depth chart in the next couple of years. And maybe it kind of pushed Mizzou to really add another interior offensive lineman as well, knowing that they will have spots in the future for some of these guys.
For sure. I'm always in favor of adding as many people. There's 2 positions I really do think you can never have enough of, and it's any offensive line position and cornerbacks. Don't think you can ever have enough of either of those.
Seen Mizzou run into trouble with one of those positions as well in recent years. What was Jack's best thing you learned this week?
Jack's best thing he learned this week that was chosen for him is Mizzou got another transfer portal commit, this one from Steve Solorzano, I believe. Steve Solorzano is how I believe that is pronounced. He is from New Mexico State. He is coming off a year where he posted a 341 batting average. He had a 997 OPS, 51 runs batted in, and 55 runs scored. Shout out Natalie Jones for getting those stats.
2 commitments now?
I think they've got 3. I think we might have missed one on the show. But I think they have 3. I'd have to go and double check, but this certainly seems to be the jewel of the class so far. I believe like Mario Mokia even quote tweeted him. And I know there's a New Mexico State connection.
Yes. So he has a pretty obvious connection there. Biggest needs left, Peyton.
Everything
is available.
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean, but anyone that is remotely talented, please come play baseball at Missouri.
All right. Best beats. Do you want to go first?
Sure. It's a very World Cup themed show. I'm feeling patriotic around World Cup time. I'm going to take the U.S. to win their first match of the group. It's against Paraguay. They're minus 105. I think the Americans will get it done tomorrow. Or today when you're listening.
Yes, all of our games are on Friday. Payton, I think this is a good one because I sent it to Jack. I said, pick a game, and he picked your game first. And I was a little bit worried. I mean, not worried, but maybe in a positive way if he did choose the bet that I had as well on our sheet, because then that would make us both look pretty smart because he is the soccer nut. But for myself, Payton, this was a game that, in my mind, I think these two teams are a little bit closer. I think South Korea probably does have an edge, but South Korea versus Czechia on Friday, I'm going to just take a draw, take a tie, plus 200.
I like predicting ties. I almost wanted to do that in a game, but I didn't do it.
It's easier to do in football than in football. Jack took Bosnia plus 360 against Canada on Friday. That one was the total opposite of what Payton and I originally thought. We saw the lines from FanDuel.
Well, to be fair, he's going way against the grain here.
He is.
Plus 360.
But we were both thinking, okay, Canada is going to win that game.
Yeah, because I remember hearing a lot about how much Canada's invested in soccer. Granted, I heard that like 8 years ago now, probably, but it's still in the brain.
I still think you're going to take that North American team on its own continent as well. Payton, joke to wrap things up.
Yes, sir. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. Knowlton. Kidding. Kenny. That's your name. Kenny Van Doran. Kenny Van. Where does Darth Vader... I'm kidding. This one comes from our favorite TV series, The Today Show. What's the best way to catch a fish?
Fishing rod. Reel it in.
No. That's just literally how you catch it. What's the best way to catch a fish? Ask someone to throw it to you. It's being literal. Like you're literally.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. Very fun.
Well, yeah, in the show, bud. Did you have any thoughts on Mizzou's non-con schedule? I didn't ask you at the top.
No. No, I don't think so. I was just more so I like to hear reporters talk about how they have to deal with the overlaps and how that kind of works out with.
I know it's so relatable. People really love that. That's really
people love hearing that. That's awesome.
Oh, think of the journalists.
We have it hard too. People don't think about us.
I gotta drive 2 hours to write tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm not making fun of anyone.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah, just more so the
I have way more respect for journalists than most. Not you, though.
The ones that don't lie. Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of The Unwritten Rule, brought to you by FanDuel on the Believe Network. We will see you guys next week. Maybe not with Jack Knowlton. I think he did talk about that, but we're going to be doing the Monday show talking about the 2023 season. And we're going to split it up. It's too good of a season. Drinkwitz's best season at Missouri, not to have it with 2 episodes. So we'll do the first 6 games, ranking those for Monday's show. Until then, have a nice and safe weekend. Enjoy the World Cup. We will see you guys on Monday.